this is audience participation time. We've got another question.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think there's two ways to look at it, though. Number one, if the person wants that weapon for home protection right now, let's assume it's a lower income individual that works normal business hours. Because the purchase to permit repeal hasn't went through yet, a lot of people have to take a day off of work to go down to take the test, to do all that. That costs a lot of money. A lot of people can't do that. If we eliminate that, that takes care of that. The second avenue there is if that person then wants to carry outside of the house. Not only do we have one of the most expensive CPLs in the country, but by the time you factor in your CPL, your training, again, possibly a day off work to go during normal business hours to the clerk's office and to get your fingerprinting done at the sheriff's office and all that, you're looking several $100s. Some states are as little as $10 for a carry permit. I know locally the police and all that are saying, you know, because for budget reasons they don't want the cost of that to go down. But I think that's a great point, because not only could we make it cheaper for home protection, but we could also do something, I think, with the cost of the CPLs to help bring that down. Because I know several people that have said, I don't want to get a pistol because it's too many hoops to jump through. And I know several people have said, I just can't afford to take the training and pay the fee and to do all this. And once I do, I owe $105 every 5 years again. I can't see a legitimate reason why a renewal costs as much as a new one does. When you look at states like Ohio and that severely discount your renewal process. So I think there are some things that could be done about that, and I think those two things right there could help a lot more people, especially lower income and senior citizens and that, be able to carry and protect themselves.
Any comments from candidates?
As far as the cost, only a small amount of that cost remains at the local level. The majority of that $105 goes up to the state.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the cut? Approximately?
I don't remember.
That's usually a small part.
That's substantial. The biggest part goes to the state police.
Mr. Zorn.
Well, you know, if we can get the bill enacted that would take the requirements out, use federal requirements, you're taking a big expense away by doing that. We have already started the process to streamline the requirements to get the permit. And I'm not sure exactly where that bill is. It may have already passed or signed the law. I think we've started that process, and we need to consider that to make it easier for people to get through the process. It's also less expensive.
Thank you, sir.
I think going back to what is very simple, the fees, the hoops, that's all an infringement. And should be dealt with that. I think we need to vote our consciences and that kind of thing, and have our legislators and our judges be elected in accordance to how they feel about the infringement of, I mean, that's why we're here tonight. The Second Amendment.
Excellent. Any comments, questions? I've got a question. I'll abuse my position as moderator, if you don't mind. And believe me, I know to take off on some tangents, but this is not a tangent. In about a minute or less, which of the candidates would like to talk about their vision for firearms rights in this country 5 and 10 years from now? Or even longer, if you want. Mr. Zorn, you go first, and anyone else care to follow?
Yes, real simple for me. The Second Amendment. Let's get rid of the state laws that we have. All we need to do is have them registered.
All we need is what?
They have them registered.
You believe we need to keep registration?
No, I don't, but I think that's going to be that's going to be a battle that's going to be tough. But I believe we need to open it up. No different than a rifle. You can buy it, you can keep it. I don't think it's government's responsibility to go through that.
When you say a tough one, do you mean because of unfounded public opinion fears? Irrational fears?
I think because of public opinion, I also believe that the Iowa State like that. Pretty strong.
So,
by registration, you mean like the NICS system, just background check? Yeah. Instead of not like the old registration system?
I guess my rebuttal to that would be, as I said, 5 states in this country have registration. In every other one, face-to-face transactions of long guns and handguns are fine. I have a gun called an LCP. It's about this big. It shoots a 380. Okay, it's not a very dangerous gun per se. I have to go get a permit to purchase that, or a CPL, and I have to register it. I can also go buy an AK-47 with a 30-round clip that shoots 7.62 ammo. I can buy that from anybody, anytime, anywhere, face-to-face without a permit. It doesn't make much sense. And with all due respect, to allow unfounded, irrational fears to get in the way of progress in what really is important, which is the Second Amendment, I don't think is fair. Because as he said, and he hit it right on the head, Wild West shootouts, blood in the streets, all this stuff, we hear it every time. And we're hearing it now about the gun-free zone repeal. We're going to hear the schools are going to be shot up and the daycare centers and all this. And it never happens because it's not true. So I really hope that when legislation comes up, that taking a stand against those unfounded fears is, I think that's really important. And if it brings heat, I think that heat can be explained when they're presented with facts. Because the other side of the aisle and the people that are against this, they're purely emotional-based arguments. There are no facts to back up what they say. And I think if we can confront that fear with facts, they're going to have a hard time arguing anymore.
Thank you very much for the comment. The candidates, who else wants to address this visionary?
Well, I'd like to address him on one thing you just said.
That, and then?
And then I'd
Can
like to address
okay.
what you said at first, having been the chairperson of the Wayne County Gun Board, which has more permit holders than any other county in the state. Almost every time we had a hearing where somebody was violated for carrying a gun, it had nothing to do with using a gun.
Mm-hmm.
It was typically a person who was arrested for drunk driving and just had it in their possession. Sometimes they didn't remember they had it. It might be under the seat or accessible, but not locked away in the trunk where it had to be. And almost all the ones where there was any criminal activity involved, outside of a couple times where there was a security guard that kind of got carried away. But typically, the average citizen was getting in trouble with their guns.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't. So what you're saying is true. The blood in the streets didn't happen. All the streets in Detroit happened, people did have gun permits. And as you said, they don't pay attention to the law, the Constitution, or anything else. So,
All right. Gun rights, but 5 and 10 years from now, what do you say?
okay. First of all, I disagree with what Mr. Zorn said, because in order for that to happen, the states would have to give up the right to have their own constitution. And I can see that as happening at all. I like Michigan's constitution because it specifically says for your own defense. It goes beyond the U.S. Second Amendment. So I like having that in there. And that's what goes hand in hand with our Castle Doctrine, stand your ground law. Because it's one thing to be able to have firearms, something else to be able to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Having it without being able to use it doesn't do you any good. And that's why the stand your ground law is so important. So I see, in 5 to 10 years, when I see people that are going to attack that, and we're going to have very strong state senators, state representatives who are going to hold the line, not let that go away. Period. Because it's essential.
Hey, who else?
Are you talking about 5, 10 years, what would we see in a perfect world?
Yeah, I think that's...
What I'd like to see
your
in
definition of this.
a Walbert world. I would like to see us enforcing gun laws. I hope you're trying to wrap your mind around that. What I'm saying is enforcing laws on the violation of human rights and the illegal, unlawful use of a gun. And the rest of us, free and clear, to follow the Second Amendment without infringement, without registration, to be educated by law-abiding gun groups that are concerned that people know how to use their weapons, and spend the time to do that as necessary. But the rest of it is freedom. And the U.S. Constitution, the Second Amendment, is carried out. We have equal rights to the criminals in keeping and bearing arms. For what I said, I would like in the Walbert world, and I know there's all sorts of battles we got to go through, a country that will have 40% of the people that will accept to take over their own health care by the government. Will have to take over their own energy policy by the government. We'll see some of these things mandated on and accepted. It'll be tough to get through to the point of saying you ought to be able to carry out the Second Amendment freely. And until you violate the law,
you're good. But when you violate the law, you become a criminal. And we go after you to the fullest extent of the law, and you understand things. And we prove that an armed society is generally a polite society.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else on this?
Brian? Could I say one thing?
Of course you can. You set this whole event up.
No, I think the problem with the registration in Michigan is we've had it forever, this dual registration. And it's hard to break something that's been going on for so long. I mean, I have registered a pistol every time I bought it. Okay, so what's wrong with that? I'm used to it. I'm desensitized. I do not come forward and fight this boldly. Let me put it that way. I want to see the law changed. I think the registration is a dual registration. It is ridiculous. We're paying people to do the same job in Lansing. I know what's going on. The state police are pushing hard on this because they personally, and this is my own belief, and I have not heard anything, they want jobs. They want to have the ability to say, hey, we've got this many jobs and we need more money. And I got nothing against the state police, but we've got to desensitize the gun owner as to the fact that we are jumping through hoops. We're wasting time and we're not getting any place.
So we're not any more secure.
Pardon me?
And we're not any more secure. In fact,
No.
we're less secure.
Less
Having
secure.
that take place, but you're right, we've been desensitized like the frog in the pot. The heat gradually turned up until we think it's normal, when in fact, I don't want my government knowing all the weapons I have. They ought to be worried about me. In the positive sense, that there's always a militia out there that's able to take our freedom back from a runaway government. It wasn't primarily for crime, it wasn't primarily for hunting, it wasn't for any of that. It was for citizens to be able to say to their government, you know, we respect our government, we fear it as well. And we will make sure you know, you won't know completely how much power we have, but you know that we're prepared.
Thank you, sir. Croyder and then Dr. Bell.
Wayne, what you're talking about desensitized, it's even more so with the CPL process. Because now you don't have to go down and get the permit. You just go online, print it out, see the sword, do it, email it in, or you drop it off at your convenience. So that's further desensitization in my eyes. I don't know if you agree or not, but it just makes it more so.
I don't want to take up any time from the panel.